Richard Jewell, the latest film by Clint Eastwood, starring Paul Walter Hauser, Sam Rockwell, John Hamm, Olivia Wilde, and Kathy Bates. It is based on a real story that happened in 1996 in Atlanta during the Olympic Games. The titular character, Richard Jewell, was a security guard who, at a concert in Centennial Park, noticed a suspicious backpack. And as it turned out, there was actually a bomb in it, and it did go off very shortly. Thanks to Jewell's vigilance, most of the people have been evacuated and moved away from the impact in time, but there were still several casualties and I think over 100 injured. Right after the incident, Richard was obviously hailed as a hero, but soon after, FBI started looking at him as a potential suspect. He did fit their profile of a hero bomber, a person obsessed with becoming a policeman or security guard with law enforcement in general, craving attention for their efforts. He also did have a shady past and a couple of weird connections and events that happened to him. But in any event, the case the FBI was building was still rather weak until it was leaked to the press, to the media, which then immediately crucified Richard and basically ruined his entire life overnight. The film focuses on those events and on the fight to prove Richard's innocence, a fight led mostly by his idealistic lawyer, played by Sam Rockwell. Now, first off, I have to say it's quite stunning to me that Clint Eastwood continues to make movies at the age of 89. And not only that, he pumps them out basically every other year. Every other year we had something new from him. 2016 it was Sully, 2018 The Mule, now this one. And by all accounts, he's a man who works very efficiently. He delivers his movies under budget and before deadlines, mainly because of his shooting philosophy. See, there are directors like David Fincher who will do 50 or 70 takes of the same scene just to make sure they get the best possible result. Eastwood does one or two and just moves on. And that's rather unusual in the film world to do so little. And it tends to have mixed results, honestly. If he gets a competent cast and that can perform well on first try, magic can happen. A good example is Million Dollar Baby. If, however, he has to work with less talented people, or less experienced people at least, this can result in, well, subpar end product. So that was the case with Gran Torino, which I still think is an amazing film, but try watching it while focusing on the performances of people other than Eastwood himself. The acting there is just, it's not good, not by any definition. So, which Eastwood do we get with Richard Jewell? Well, if you look at the cast, the talent is there, and in my opinion, the performances are the best part of this picture. I especially loved Sam Rockwell and Kathy Bates, but Paul Walter Hauser is equally great as the lead, and the other actors do their job quite well. There's one scene in the film in particular where I just adored Rockwell's acting. When the FBI comes over to search the house of Richard and the lawyer expressly advises him not to speak to them. And then Jewell promptly proceeds to talk to the FBI all the time, saying random shit that just makes him look worse and worse. Just, if you look at Rockwell in that scene, terrific reactions from him all around, just the ultimate exasperation at the whole thing. Also, as far as I was able to verify, the story itself is told pretty accurately, with the exception maybe of the of the reporter played by Olivia Wilde, the reporter that leaks the info in the first place. There was some mild controversy that the portrayal was unflattering and inaccurate, but in general I'd say this aspect is fine. However, I can't quite put my finger on it, or at least I couldn't last night when I saw it, but the movie as a whole was to me less than the sum of its parts. You have all those elements in place, all those pieces on the board that should create something great, but Richard Jewell overall just lacks this special something, this grip that would keep me on the edge of my seat, emotionally invested. I tried thinking why that was the case, and maybe partly it's because I knew the outcome going into it. But honestly, I think it comes down more to its tonal inconsistency. On the one hand, the movie tries to be this gritty drama about how media can destroy someone innocent and how it controls the public reactions, how the FBI can manipulate facts and people to make them fit a story that they are engineering. That fight between man and system, a classic tale. But on the other hand, we have a ton of comedic moments, mostly coming from the fact that Richard himself is such an awkward, weird guy, and each time a new piece of his background comes to light, it causes a new headache for his lawyer. So those character interactions tend to be quite funny. Yet these problems that surface for the lawyer and for Richard are never really given proper gravity. They're mostly played for laughs between the two. And don't get me wrong, the humor works, but the question is, should it work, or rather should it even be there in the first place, even if it's working? By making light of so much of the story, you kind of eradicate the stakes, because of those tonal shifts and going from serious to funny all the time. I never really felt that Richard was in any danger whatsoever. All the time I was just in that state of mind of, oh well, that's not good, but you know, it doesn't look great for his case, but surely he'll be able to beat it somehow, no doubt about that, right? So at the end of the day, I think that inconsistency in the tone prevents the movie from being better than it should be. As it is, I think it's just slightly above average, mainly due to competent and charismatic performances. But for Eastwood, and for this cast especially, I do think it's a bit low.